Welcome back to the Property Apprentice Podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Roberts, and today we've got a bonus episode where we're breaking down a significant change in New Zealand's property regulations that could make life a whole lot easier for families using trusts. The New Zealand government has announced changes to anti-money laundering, AML regulations, aiming to reduce the burden of compliance for property sales involving family trusts. Previously, these checks often made ordinary New Zealanders feel like potential criminals. So let's dive into what's changing and what it might mean for you. Let's start with discussing the problem. At the moment, if you're selling a property held in a family trust, you could be required to go through some pretty strict anti-money laundering checks. That means real estate agents have to collect some extensive documentation, including the names and addresses of all beneficiaries, including your children, details on how the property was paid for, identity verification for lawyers, trustees, and anyone linked to the trust, and in many cases, repetitive paperwork for what's obviously a routine transaction in many cases. So what's changing? On Monday, Associate Justice Minister Nicole McKee announced that the government will relax AML rules for certain property transactions deemed to be low risk. For trust-held property sales, a simplified version of customer due diligence is now required. This involves confirming the trustee and ownership details match the certificate of title, verifying the identities and roles of the trustees, usually the couple selling the house, and retaining a copy of the trust deed. This replaces the more invasive process that's frustrated families for years. McKee sums up the situation by saying that families who are working hard, paying off their mortgage, saving to get ahead, don't understand why they're treated like dirty money criminals just because they want to move house. And she's got a point. Imagine a couple who lived in the same home for 15 years, raised their kids there and gradually paid off their mortgage, only to be hit with complex legal checks just because their home's in a family trust. I mean, can you pull up the details of how you purchased your property? The Real Estate Institute of New Zealand, which has been calling for reforms to AML requirements for years, considers this movement as a partial win. The organisation argues that family trusts are not generally high-risk transactions and shouldn't be treated as such. They didn't get full exemption for trust, but they got the next best thing, exemption for low-risk ones with simplified procedures. In addition, REINZ has advocated for accepting commercial leasings from AML checks, allowing agents to rely on due diligence done by lawyers, accountants, and creating a centralised identity database to reduce the repetitive work. It remains to be seen whether these reforms will gain traction in the future. There still are some grey areas that need to be addressed, even with the recent developments. For example, what exactly counts as a low-risk transaction? That part hasn't yet been defined properly. The government says clear guidance will be provided soon for lawyers, agents, and accountants so that they can apply the simplified process without fear of penalties. But some experts are sounding the alarm. Serena Gibbon, General Manager of the Auckland Property Investors Association, warns that real estate agents aren't trained to assess AML risk the way that lawyers or accountants are. She says that would be a tall order for some unless the guidance is particularly clear. You can do it, but you have to do it carefully, and you have to train the industry properly for it. Joanne Pidgeon, a property law expert, agrees. She welcomes the efficiencies, but stresses that simplification must still be fit for purpose, otherwise we risk creating loopholes. In an effort to make New Zealand's anti-money laundering or AML regime smarter, more proportionate and focused on genuine risks, other updates have also been made available. This includes the new rule announced this week, making it easier for parents to open bank accounts for their children without having to fill out mountains of paperwork, as long as the account is considered to be low risk. However, not everyone's on board with these updates. At a reading of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill, Labour MP Ginny Anderson raised concerns. She noted that New Zealand is experiencing record levels of methamphetamine imports and warned that criminal groups are constantly looking for ways to clean illegal profits, often through real estate. She added that it's important to establish a criteria to define what low-risk customer is. And she's right. Organised crime does not play fair. What's even more unsettling is how it takes advantage of everyday people, often those with no criminal record at all, sometimes called clean skins. These are the folks used to move dirty money through what might look like normal legal transactions. So where does this leave us? If you're a homeowner with a trust or a real estate professional, these changes could reduce some paperwork, stress and costs, but only if clear, workable guidance is issued alongside the reform. This, in my opinion, is a step in the right direction to recognising that not every Kiwi selling a house is hiding dirty money. But as always, the implementation will either make or break the policy. We'll keep you posted as the new rules are clarified. If you found this episode helpful, hit subscribe and share it with someone who you think might benefit. And as always, stay informed and keep making progress towards reaching your financial future goals. I'll see you in our next episode. Thanks for listening. Hey there, want to stay on top of the latest property news and trends? Subscribe to the Property Apprentice Podcast for weekly updates that will help you to navigate the market like a pro. We cover everything from insider tips to expert interviews, so you'll always be in the know. And don't forget to ring the bell and hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel for even more helpful content to boost your property journey. Check out the link in the description to subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Happy investing.